How are you? Thank you very much. Enjoy the festival.
It is the first day of the Scituate Arts Festival, and Lincoln Chafee is greeting hundreds of potential voters, one by one. Chafee, accompanied by a lone staffer at the ready with bumper stickers, often drives himself to events, like this one in Cranston earlier this month. No entourage, just the candidate. That solitude might be a metaphor for this Republican-turned-independence campaign. The former mayor of Warwick and U.S. Senator is very much going it alone this election, with no party to shield or to boost him.
I'm used to not having a whole lot of party structure as a Republican in Rhode Island, but there was some. And another thing I'm learning from this experience, traditionally you can have your party chair take some of the hatchet attacks on your opponent and separate yourself a little bit from that fray. I don't have that either. That's been interesting if we're going to have some negative initiatives on my opponents.
Has that made you uncomfortable having to play, in effect, the Karl Rove role in this campaign at times?
No, I'll do what needs to be done, and I'm used to tough campaigns.
Do you like campaigning, or is that just something you have to, getting out and shaking people's hands? Sometimes you seem, and I watched you at the Scituate Arts Festival, you have to do it, but it's almost like you're intruding on people's time or space.
No, I don't know where that perception comes from, because that's not accurate. I know from my council races, that's where I learned the issues of going door to door.
When he lost his Senate seat to Sheldon Whitehouse in 2006, Chafee thought of getting out of politics altogether. He took a position teaching at his alma mater, Brown University, and saw a very crowded field of people considering a run for governor, initially including David Cicilline and Patrick Lynch, as well as Frank Caprio. Chafee knew how much his father, the late Senator John Chafee, enjoyed his 3 terms as governor in the 1960s. But, truth be told, Link Chafee was also worried about living up to the legend of John Chafee.
He was almost known more as Governor Chafee than Senator Chafee for a long part of his career. And so the pro was, yes, I knew how much he enjoyed it and loved it and liked working with the legislature, the battles they had, at the same time moving the state forward. The other hand, I was thinking that's Dad's niche that he had. Can I fulfill all the legendary reputation that he had? So that gave me some pause, actually.
The specter of John Chafee may also have played a part in the most controversial aspect of this campaign. Link Chafee's proposal to widen the state sales tax to help bridge a $400 million budget gap. In 1968, John Chafee proposed creating a controversial income tax, saying the state needed more revenue. His opponent, Frank Leach, promised no new taxes. John Chafee lost the election, and 2 years later, Leach broke his promise by creating a new income tax.
Ultimately, I knew that during the course of this campaign, the candidates would have to be specific about what they would do about the deficit. And I wanted to be able to have an answer and then defend it. So I just couldn't face the voters and not tell them what I would do. I'd rather not run and then get in office and do something different from what I said during the campaign.
Does that ever go through the back of your mind about that honesty sometimes, I'm not saying it's not the best policy, but sometimes that the voters may not be getting the message? Are you concerned about that repeating itself?
No, because I couldn't run and not be honest with the voters. I couldn't do it. And I guess the same with my dad. He knew what he had to tell the voters, and he would rather be honest with them, and it didn't work out in 1968, but I'm going to work doubly hard to make sure they know what my plan is and to call out my opponents on what their plan is. The media sits back and very cynical, and I found it interesting that no one's saying, good for Chafee, he's being honest. They just sit back and let the ads, nobody's stepping forward and on the talk shows or anything and saying, here's a fellow that's being honest about what we need to do. The others aren't saying anything. You got the Republican candidate saying we're going to make more tax cuts, and he gets a free ride. Nobody calls them out on it.
Do you think it's the media's responsibility to step in and do that?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. With talk shows especially.
Okay.
It's all just negativity.
And that brings us to media coverage of the campaign.
How much do you pay attention to how the media is covering the campaign?
Oh, you have to pay attention. I'm not a big TV watcher. I just don't have time. And so I'm a print newspaper person. I'm not an online reader. But occasionally, if I'm in the car, listen to the talk shows. But you have to pay attention.
Do you ever get frustrated sometimes when you you either read something in the journal, you turn on talk radio, and you say that's not right?
Oh yeah, very frustrating.
And then do you have to pick it? Go ahead.
About this campaign that people are saying there's no substance, but if you put your toe into the water of substance, all of a sudden there's a lot of criticism. I used the Deborah Guest in education reform as I started to talk about the debate that's going on, the very healthy and dynamic debate about testing and choice. And all of a sudden there's a front page, top of the fold story. I'm questioning the direction, and it wasn't balanced. I didn't think it was balanced at all. And you want substance, this is important.
Lincoln Chafee has also taken a page from the political playbook of his father, who was known as the man you can trust.
I'm looking at the sign behind you. It says Trust Chafee, and that also has a little bit of history. Is the subliminal message to the voters that you can't trust the other guys?
I wouldn't say that. That wasn't the intention of the slogan. It's just that I've earned it on the Iraq War, on a number of fronts. People know they can trust me, even in controversial times, to say things that turn out to be true.
A strategy that he's banking on again to help him in his latest quest for office. Jim Hummel for the Hummel Report.